Hey, everybody. I'm Morgan Cole with Brightline Property Management, and welcome to the Brightline Podcast. It's 11 o'clock on Thursday, March 26th, and I have Elizabeth Greever with EverSan Cooper Partners joining me today via Zoom. We haven't done that before, so we're going to figure out how this works. But anyway, let me toss this over to Elizabeth here so she can introduce herself and tell you a little about what she does. Go ahead,
Well,
Elizabeth.
Morgan, thank you so much for having me on here. It's beautiful that even with all of this distancing that we have to do, we can still see each other and interact and talk about the exciting world of real estate investing. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You bet.
Gosh, we started EverSan Cooper almost 4 years ago, which is crazy. I was a middle school math teacher for 6 years and left that and started our business, EverSan Cooper. I was actually speaking with somebody this morning. She asked where the name came from. So for the heck of it, I will explain. Everson came from, or Ever came from the last part of Greever, which is our married name. San is the first part of Santangelo, which is my maiden name. And Cooper is our 14-and-a-half-year-old chocolate lab that we think the sun rises and sets on. So
That's great.
this is our family business. It's our family name, and we're really proud of it. So we are real estate investors. We started out doing like acquisitions for other investors, or also known as wholesaling. And then about 6 months in, we started buying and hold. And then about 2 years in, we started flipping houses. And so we've got big goals to hold a big real estate portfolio and do multifamilies and do all that kind of stuff. But in the meantime, the flipping of houses is a lot of fun, and it's exciting, and it's fun to get into a house and see the vision. So that is a little bit about where we came from, I guess, and what we like to do.
That's awesome. So Elizabeth, you guys have been doing this for a while now. Like you said, you have some goals to fulfill. How far along in your journey do you feel like you are right now?
I really feel like we're still just at the very beginning. I'm very proud of how far we've come. We've done a lot of things and learned a lot of things, not always in the easiest of ways, but learned nonetheless, and are grateful for that. But we're very much so still in the beginning stages. I I mean, like when people ask me how many rental properties I want, I always throw out like 20 or 35 or some ridiculous number. I don't know if I'm ever going to want to stop buying rental properties. We'll see. But I at this point, just like I'm not to a point where I feel like we're where we want to be rental property wise.
Yeah,
But we also want to do multifamilies. We believe in, the scalability that comes with that, and think that they're really unique investments. But of course, it's finding the right one, and it's a much bigger investment. So we have to be more prepared in order to be able to do that, which is something that we are actively working on and kind of monitoring along the way. And
sure.
then the flipping houses stuff, I mean, there's no, like, we don't go into the year going, we have to flip, so many houses. We'd like to stay busy, right? But sometimes that means we're doing three at a time. And sometimes that means we're not doing any for a couple months. And that's okay. So
Yeah,
we really just try and pace it. And because we're really specific about the deals that we buy, and we're specific about our numbers, and we can't make every deal work within those parameters. And that's okay. So we buy them when we can, and we pass on them when we can't, and just go from there. But I very much so feel like we are still in the beginning, have a long ways to go.
well, I think that that's probably where a lot of people are. I mean, me myself, I own my wife and I own a number of investment houses, and I would say that I would be interested in buying any investment house that comes my way that I can make work. But I think that it's something that also it's interesting. I mean, like you and I talked. I don't want to make this podcast be the COVID-19 podcast, but I think that it does affect our real estate market, so we need to keep things relevant. And I'm interested to see, in the near term, how things shake out with tenants. There could be some tumultuous times here, but I think that you and I are both going to see some buying opportunities, and that's going to make the real estate investing market be, I think, probably more active than it has been.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there's so many unknowns right now for everybody in every aspect of of the word. I mean, you just don't know. And we could sit here and speculate all day long, but we really don't know
Yeah.
until things really start shaking out. So for me, we still are looking at properties. We are still considering, anything that comes our way to buy as a flip or as a rental, we are being more conservative about our numbers. When we flip properties, we used to try and push the sale price. And even in the last 6 months, we've kind of stopped trying to really push that market higher and just be like, hey, where can we know that this house can sell in a week and be done?
Yeah.
So I think, we will continue that kind of outlook and that perspective on looking at these properties and not getting too, far and away with what we think the value will be when we sell it, and just try and buy it at a fair price, renovate it properly, and sell it at a fair price so that we can all move on. Because people are still moving and things are still happening. So, if you can put a product out there that makes sense, that's, makes sense for the neighborhood, and it's affordable, and you're not doing anything crazy, I think you can still be successful in real estate even now.
Well, I think that's, there's a lot of stuff going on here that people's imaginations are first of all, they're just running amok. And so, I mean, April 1st hasn't even happened yet. And I have, clients that I'm talking to, whether it's about a commercial shopping center or whether it's about a house that they own, or investors that we have in our syndicated mobile home and RV parks. And, what we've done so far is we've done nothing, to be honest with you. But what I have done is I've gone out on every single one of our websites, and I've put a banner at the top that has COVID-19 information. You can click on it. It has a little information page, and then it has a thing called a resident response form. And what we're asking our residents to do, or our tenants in a commercial property, is to fill out the form and explain how their income situation has changed. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer that people's income situation has changed, but explain it to me. Tell me, do you own a bar and you have been forced to close?
Right.
And then if you have a payment plan that you're requesting, propose that to me. Because we haven't even had a chance to go to the banks yet and say, we were, they're working on getting the stimulus thing officially passed, which maybe it is now today. I don't know. But I mean, the Senate, I think, voted on it and approved it last night. It had to go to the House, and then from the House to the president, and so on and so forth. But they also say that it could take, if you look back at the 2008 or 9 stimulus checks, I think that the people that got direct deposits, it took 2 or 3 weeks to get them. And the people that got paper checks, it took 12 weeks to get them.
Wow. Yeah.
But if you got a federally backed mortgage like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, that kind of stuff, they're talking about doing 120-day forbearance agreements and suspending principal and interest.
Wow.
At the end of the 120 days, though, they would take the suspended principal. I think the interest doesn't accumulate. I don't know. That would be a pretty big whopper if it does. But I don't know how they do it exactly. I don't know. But anyway, they would take it and then divide that over the following 12 months. So you'd have a year of increased payments. But kind of my lead on to this, though, is for a lot of people, it's bad right now, or we think it's going to be bad. I mean, this has been affecting the U.S. for like 12 days or something at this point, in a really bad state.
Right.
But before that, we were having the best economy in the history of the United States of America. And so if you can just get through these 90 days, these businesses that were doing well 30 days ago should continue to do well.
Yeah.
If they can get from here to there. But I think that what is going to happen is there will be some thinning of the herd. But a person like you who's established in doing what you're doing, I would love to hear from your perspective how many deals you were finding, 3 years ago versus how many deals you were finding 12 months and 6 months ago. And what do you think is going to happen in the next 6 months?
Yeah. Well, I have a couple things. I will say that I believe, especially here in the greater Houston area, that's really the only community I can speak for. People are very supportive of each other already. And, you see all kinds of stuff on social media with people trying to help each other's businesses that have really been impacted and they've had to completely stop. And I believe that when we come out of this, the people that were less impacted will really be helping and promoting the people that were greatly impacted. We've always come together here in Houston. It's evident in Harvey, and I believe that it'll happen again. So I know that there's a lot of grim things out there, and people, lost work in an instant. And that's very scary. And there's no doubt about it. We've been there and get it, but I also believe that this community will support each other, and they'll rise up from that, and we will come back. I don't know how quickly, but I do believe that we will. In regards to deals, it's kind of not fair to ask how many deals we were doing a couple years ago, because that was still after Harvey.
That's a good point.
of deals at that point. Even through 2018, at least the first half, there were still a lot of flood deals that were happening then. Last year, I found there to be a little bit of a slowdown in deals because there was such an increase in people out there like you or I trying to buy them.
So let me ask you on that subject. I want to know, are you telling me that there was a slowdown because you couldn't even get an offer in, or was there a slowdown because other people were willing to pay more than you because they were possibly not as experienced as you and assuming that it's all sunshine and rainbows and that they'll of course hit their target sell number and nothing's going to go wrong?
Sure. I can't speak for their mindset or their experience, but I lost out on a lot of deals because my number was not as high as their number.
Yeah.
And we are very particular in how we do our math. I've got a whole Excel spreadsheet that I've continued
yeah.
to. Yeah, and it's actually even more now than it was when I showed it to you. I mean, we, keep trying to work on that to make it better and make sure we account for things and, trying to eliminate any surprises. And a lot of times you'll find that investors are usually within 10, maybe $15,000 of each other on offers, but ultimately the sellers don't care. They're going to, 9 times out of 10, take the higher offer. So, but that amount of money can make a big difference.
Oh yeah.
It can make a difference in cash flow. It can make a big difference in profit when you flip. I mean, it's just all the things. So, I found that there were a lot of players in the game, and they were willing to pay more than I was. And I guess, in my opinion, take risks that we weren't willing to take. So, sometimes people have magic investor math. I don't know where they get those numbers from, but I taught math when I was a teacher, and I recognized its black and whiteness for the most part. And so I really, we try and follow those rules. And if it makes sense and it kind of follows our parameters, then we're going to do it. And if it doesn't, then we're not, and we're just going to walk away.
Yeah.
We'll buy things when they're right, and we believe that we serve people and what we do, and we're upfront about all the things. So I feel like, if people choose to work with us, they're always happy, and we're always putting our best foot forward as much as we can to make things happen.
Well, and I think that you're going to see you're just going to see a change in who the players are and what the pricing is right now. There's also probably going to be a change in availability of funds, though. I'd love to get the guys from like Blink Lending on the podcast here and ask them what they forecast in their hard money lending pipeline.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You totally should, because you're right. There are people that won't spend their money right now.
Yeah. And you could have somebody who had, if you're going to do a hard money loan and you got to put, a small portion down and then cover your closing costs or something, and it was $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever it is, $10,000 to get you started, those guys, the lenders might have their pipeline dried up where they don't even have funds to lend, and then B, people could easily be invading their reserves.
Right.
So I think
you try to be careful, and you got to really feel comfortable with what the upside is of the deal. And like this morning when I was speaking to somebody about a property, she was like, well, what about the, $1,700 in rent that you're going to get? And I'm like, well, that's not true. It's not just $1,700 coming into my pocket. We've got debt service, property taxes, insurance, and maintenance, so
this was a conversation with a person who was trying to work out a payment deal with you.
Well, it was somebody that was telling me about a deal for a seller that they represent. And we were just kind of talking through some of the numbers and things like that. And so she was asking me, and just kind of in general, about how we look at our numbers and how we do things. And then she asked, well, what about the $1,700 a month, that you get in rent? And I just, explained that's not true in your pocket, $1,700. And it's not even about income tax. It's about debt service, property taxes, insurance, and
what it is for the first year is $117 a month in your pocket.
Yeah.
As you get that thing stabilized, and therein lies another thing that conventionally you rely on your static mortgage payment to then the rental rate lifts up higher and higher and higher off of that. And ideally after a few years, you making $50 a month, then $100 a month, you can start making hundreds of dollars a month on these rental properties as things stabilize. But I hope that this doesn't, not only cause a retracement in rental rates, but also just stall out rental increases.
Sure. Yeah, and that's just one of those things. I mean, we're never going to know, right? I mean, we've always pushed the market on rentals. Actually, that was kind of always one of our philosophies is we go in and we improve a house probably more than the average landlord investor.
Yeah.
We're going to put the granite in there and we're going to put the tile floors, like we're going to do the nicer fixtures. Um, but I also believe that not only when you do those things to a house can you charge a little bit more in rent, but when you do those things to the house, you're showing the tenant that you care about the house. And a lot of times their behavior will continue to reflect that. And so we have found that our tenants value the condition of the house just as much as we do.
Hmm.
And we know that because they call us as soon as there is an issue. If there is an issue, they're very communicative. They pay rent on time. They're good people. Like we just believe that by doing those extra things on the front end to the home to really take care of it and put it forth beautifully, um, the people's behavior after that is reflective of that condition. So I'm not sure how that will adjust going forward. I don't know if we're going to be able to push rents quite like we used to. Um, I hope we can, but certainly we're prepared and we will be running numbers like we said it earlier, adjusting kind of what we're pushing and what we're not. So now we'll really start to think about like, okay, if this is worst case and this is what we can collect as rent, are we still comfortable with this cash flow?
Yeah.
Really be evaluating it that
Well,
way.
you also have, I mean, while you have a select group of landlords that are cash owners that can actually afford to slash their prices, the vast majority of houses are financed.
Right.
And the vast majority of them were originated with loans prior to the there's going to be a floor. I mean, there's a floor on what a landlord can actually rent a house out for.
For sure.
And I did see, I mean, I've seen various stories of, I'm in some like property management Facebook groups, and I've seen some people post some articles, and there's one guy who lowered his rent to $100. But you know what?
Okay.
That's gonna get filled, and it's not gonna be an option for the next guy, and no one's gonna be able to say, oh,
Right.
well, that unit's $100, so yours should be $100. No, it's still 1,500.
Right.
uh you know and I don't know what the tax assessors are going to do, but I mean, for an insurance company to provide continuous insurance coverage, they have to receive their stream of income.
Right.
So and the tax assessor, even if they do somehow manage to create their own version of a forbearance agreement where they reduce people's 2020 tax bill by 25% and then finance that over the next 3 years or something and make a lien on a property. I mean, I don't know, but these things don't go away.
Right.
And so people do need relief right now. And I think that over the next 2 or 3 months, we're going to have to find ways to give people relief. But
Right.
it can't possibly be permanent.
No. And I don't think that it's appropriate for anybody to expect that it would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So, well, I'm excited to try to see. I mean, it's discouraging lately. My answer to my own question would be I see less deals. There are less viable deals. I'm like you. I'm pretty hard lined on my numbers. And if I don't see something that makes sense, I'm just like, no, that doesn't make sense.
right.
I don't look at a house and say, oh yeah, but if we just remodeled the whole thing and added 4 bedrooms and removed the railroad tracks from the backyard, this would be perfect.
Be great. No problem.
Let's
Right.
make that happen and we'll buy this house.
Right.
Like, no, we are going to look at a house and say, nope, 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 nope,
Yep.
and move on. And then when you do find that ideal house, other people are also finding it.
Right.
So,
And I think the best way to really come out of all of this and really be a successful investor in general, whether you're in hard times or not, is to find numbers that make sense for you and stick to them and be okay to walk away from a house.
yeah,
If your offer does not make sense to them, respect the fact that it doesn't make sense for them and respect yourself that it doesn't make sense for you and walk away. It is okay.
yeah.
To walk away from the table and do what's best for you because it's not an investment if it's not making any money.
That's
Like
exactly right. Yes.
just so
Yeah, no, it's interesting. So, well, what do you think that you'll be doing? Who will you be working with over the next few months or over the next year? Do you think you'll be wholesaling deals or buying them yourself? I mean, what are you imagining?
well, I think there'll be a little bit of all the things just like normal. You know, we always, when we look at a property, it's always, hey, can we buy this and rent it, or can we buy this and sell it? And if the answer is no to either of those for any like personal reason, not because it's not a deal, but for us, maybe we're over leveraged or whatever, and we're just don't want to take a deal down, then sure, yes, that's where we would come in and say, hey, we're going to wholesale this and bring in one of our investors on the deal. So I think that there'll probably be a decent amount of wholesaling, because we're not going to be as maybe comfortable to take on 3 houses at once like we would have this time last year. We're going to slow play it a little bit more, especially not like 3 flips, you know, maybe a rental and a flip,
Yeah.
but not let's do 3 flips and oh, let's pick up this rental and then let's get this one on the dock. It's probably going to be a little slower that way. But we do still have investors that we work with that are buying. So anytime it's not a fit for us, but might be a fit for them, we'll certainly be, you know, taking that avenue. There's no doubt about it. We're just going to do the best that we can for the people that come to us, and you know, which we always have done. And if it means that I need to wholesale this instead of buy it myself so that I can get them, you know, what they need and still get the deal done, then that's what we're going to do.
I think that there's going to be an increase in the number of people who are buying and holding for rental for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I think so too.
You know, I mean, I think that you know, there's always an opportunity. Well, there usually are houses that are available that you can buy and turn in and at a wholesale level, or that need a lot of improvements. But I think that during the short term here, there's going to be a lot of people that are not lined up. Just the same thing that you would have sold 3 months ago, this nice, beautiful house that you would fix up and sell. I just don't think that there's going to be as many buyers lined up for that. And if they are, the price might be less in the near term. Right. But I think that there's probably a lot of people who are currently renting houses that maybe were thinking about buying a house, that are maybe not thinking about buying a house now, and they're going to keep renting. But
Right.
we get this thing in our rear view mirror in 2 or 3 years, and everything gets back to normal. And then you can take that house that you bought at a good price today, rented it out for 2 or 3 years, and then you can sell it and make some money.
Yep.
So the question, though, is going to be, do people actually have access to cash that they can afford to leave in those houses for 2 or 3 years in a time like this?
Right. For sure. Well, I think that the good news is if we're able to continue to refinance out, you know, like get the hard money loan or buy the house with cash and then turn around and refinance out of that, if that avenue continues, I think that things will still be able to keep moving forward, because people aren't going to have to leave
Yeah.
their own money in the property for very long. And you know, so that's obviously a question mark at this point. But from what I'm understanding from the mortgage world, I am not a mortgage broker, but from what I'm understanding, you know, the rates are going down and they're good. And they're still doing loans. I think it's just, I'm sorry,
That's
uh,
okay.
taking longer is what I'm hearing. You know, they're backed up, and there's a lot of people trying to do refinances right now because of the rates and things like that. But I think as long as that channel still stays open, many people that are investors will still be able to use that as a resource to get their cash out and go buy another property.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, like I said, I mean, this is a lot of imagination right now. No one actually has a clue. Most people paid their bills in March.
Right.
Most people haven't had a significant bill that's due in the midst of this economic downturn.
Right.
So we need to see how many people are working from home and anxious, although they haven't had an interruption in their income, versus how many people are home not working.
Right.
And so that kind of goes into, I mean, the more people that call me, I mean, I just like, stop, like, just gather information. I mean, you can't, you buy these properties with a multi-year outlook, and you're going to let a multi-day problem derail all of your plans?
Right.
You know, it just doesn't make sense. So, I mean, that's why we created the forum. We're gathering the information, and I want to work with our tenants. I mean, whether it's a restaurant, or whether it's a optician or a dentist or Subway sandwiches, or a man who is a welder that got either furloughed or laid off, or whatever. I mean, come to me and let's figure it out. But you have a contractual obligation to pay your rent, and just like we have a contractual obligation to pay our mortgage or our taxes or our insurance.
Right. That's right.
I am very willing to make a round world deal, though. I'm very
Sure.
willing to receive any sort of forbearance or relief that I can get from the people that we owe to operate the property, and then go use that as a tool to make a deal with a tenant.
Right.
But I do not feel that this is a situation where we can just say, hey, it's an economic holiday, let's not worry about it.
Right.
So, I mean, if you, and I know that a lot of people look at the landlord as the guy who has all the money, and he can do whatever he wants, just like your person. Oh, what about the $1,700 you're going to get? But for a lot of
Right.
landlords, just like someone lost their job waitressing, or lost their job doing whatever else, that's how they earn income. There are a
Right.
lot of landlords who earn income by renting a house out.
That's right.
So, and I think that landlords are probably going to be generous to sacrifice and willing to sacrifice, maybe even as a result of their anxiety over solidifying a deal with a tenant, and keeping a good tenant in a house. But,
Right.
I think everyone's going to have to come to the table and say, we're going to figure this out, and we're going to get through it together.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely. I think that we will, and like I said earlier, I believe that everybody wants to help each other and they want to be reasonable and they want to do the right thing. And so I think that, like you said, if you can get relief from your debt collectors, if you will, on your properties, then you can turn around and help your tenants that need your help. And I
hmm
think that's amazing. I think it's great that you're doing that, and you're reaching out to them and finding out, like, hey, are you okay? Are you impacted by this, or
yeah.
not? And what do you need, and how can I help you? And I think that's wonderful. So
Well, thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look here, let me get rid of your banner there. So if you look at our website here, on Brightline Property Management, we put this banner at the top of it, and we've done the same thing for every one of our mobile home and RV park websites, and for our Cole Realty website. I've been working with my web developer to change like 12 websites this week and get this all set up. But basically, we're telling you that our office is closed. I mean, our corporate office is closed. We're still working, but we're closed. We're
Yeah.
really encouraging people to get online and pay. We got a bunch of ways you can pay online. But if you have a problem, please click the resident response form here. And what this is going to do is it'll pop up and it'll say, tell me who you are and list any changes in your circumstances. Give me your documentation. Are you requesting a payment plan? If you are, then please describe your payment plan and your source of income and submit this to us. We need the information. If we don't have the information from people, then we don't have a way to work with them. But give me the information and I will find a way to work with you, provided that it's realistic.
Right. No, I think that's amazing, and that really shows your tenants that you care. And I think that they'll respond to that, and I think that's awesome. So
Yeah,
good
no,
for you.
I'm enthusiastic about the future. So and so the other thing that I've been talking about for well over a year now is our software Rentalizer. And I've shown it to you, and we've talked about various ways that people can use it, whether you're a real estate investor, a real estate agent, or even at your level being a wholesaler. There's like a whole nother set of things that a software like this can do for you.
Mm,
But this is interesting because I think that at a time like this, where you're going to have people that have not had an interruption in their work and are active real estate investors, I think that they're going to be the ones that are out there buying first.
yeah. Yeah.
And I think that people might be able to those guys are going to be the ones that are out there buying. And so I'm really excited. I'm going to show you what we've changed in Rentalizer lately.
Great.
I think you might like to check this out. So basically, it's extremely close to being really ready to go. I know that I've said that 1,000 times, but we finally moved it into a server cluster, so we have the power that we need to run the thing. Um,
Yeah.
I got a guy named Dylan who's an expert in machine learning who is redoing our algorithm that calculates rental rate and sales prices. So what we're doing with that is we're now using machine learning to evaluate all of the sold houses in our area on the MLS, and it trains a model. And then we ingest the 1.5 million houses that are in Harrison, Montgomery County through the thing, and it uses the beds, bathrooms, square feet, the Great Schools rating. We're using greatschools.org now to provide the 1 to 10 numeric rating on the schools. Um,
Okay.
Lots of other things like that, and it can generate a pretty dang good rental rate. Right now, he measures it and what percentage he tests his model. Like he'll train the model and then he'll go back and he'll put blinders on and the model won't look at the price and it'll say, okay, I think this house that rented last year should rent for $1,800, and then it tells him how close he got to what it actually rented to. And within $50 or $100, I think we're only at like 57% accuracy, but within $200, I think we're at like 87% accuracy. So
Nice.
we're really closing that in and trying to make it as accurate as possible. But
Yeah.
I want to show you this though because it's really working really well. So what you can do is you go to app.rentalizer.com. This is where you get to it right now, and you log in. And if you come over here to searches and you click add a search, you could do it by say entering zip codes. So around here we're gonna all search 77380, 77381, 77. What are 77382, 773.
Yeah, those are all great.
So if you run that search right there, and then it says, how much do you want to invest, and it gives you our basic model here, and you click show search results. So right now what it's doing is, oh well, there can't possibly be 2,500 houses on this thing. But anyway, it pulls all these up, and so here's a result that just came through, and I'm pretty sure that I cannot view this while it's still searching. That is one thing that drives me crazy about this, and I'm trying to find a we're going to put another, this is geeky, but we're going to install a different web server on the server. We're going to switch from Apache to Lightspeed, which can run more than one worker at the same time. So theoretically, it would be able to then multitask a lot better. The problem is it's now trying to evaluate those 2,500 houses before it wants to tell me how this house is going to perform.
Right.
So I think I jammed up my system here. But anyway, this should come back to life here in a second, and I'm going to flip back over to our screen here so that I can not have dead content on the air. But I guess the point is I'd love to show it off, and hopefully it comes back on, and I'm going to call John. Oh, it came back. So here it is. We're going to flip back to that now. So this is what's really cool about this. It popped up 134 South Vesper Bend Circle. And what we're able to do is, we can change the purchase price. We can change the down payment. We can change the rental rate. And it's going to show us what the internal rate of return, the cash on cash. But just like you were talking about, people saying, oh, but what about that $1,700 a month you're going to get? Well, okay. But in reality, I'm going to have to pay leasing commissions. I'm going to have a vacancy loss. In my first year of owning this thing, I'm going to lose $4,900.
Right.
Now, I mean, realistically, I think that this has got to be off market deal anyway. But this house, we would not be buying $250,000 houses and renting them for $1,700. And most people wouldn't do that if they're going to finance it. You could do it if you're paying cash, but if you're going to finance it, you're not going to do that. So let's just assume that we're looking for houses that we can buy for $200,000 that we can rent for $1,850 a month. Now it's actually cash flow positive. But even still, the answer to that person's question is, in my first year, I'm still expecting to lose money. In my second year, I'm going to make a little profit, but then I'm expecting in my third year, it's going to go vacant again. I'm going to have to pay to release it. So, yeah, this is profitable as far as an average goes here. We're definitely making money, but it's not like you get to keep your $1,700 a month and just go to do what you want to do.
Right. That's right.
So, and like you talk about, a lot of people might not understand what goes on. I mean, you said that you had to explain to that person, yeah, but I have to pay property tax. I have to pay property insurance. I have to pay, all this stuff. And for people who want to invest but might not be knowledgeable about these things, a tool like Rentalizer is excellent for them to be able to get on here and find some houses and have a complete picture provided to them.
Yeah. I love it. I think it's so powerful, and you really, you hit everything, that you have to pay for and consider as a landlord. And it really gives it a better picture instead of, 1,700 times 12. Okay. That's going to be great.
Yeah.
Let me get a couple of these and I'm going to go to Mexico. So, it's nice that you can see that. And it's nice that you can really, make sure that you've accounted for everything. I think that's something that has changed on our, calculator that we use now. It's like, are we making sure that we are accounting for everything, even the utilities, while you're holding the house, while you're fixing it? That was something that we just kind of always I don't know,
just assumed it'd be okay.
Fine,
well,
and
Elizabeth, if you had been using if you would just use Rentalizer, you can clearly see on the screen here cumulative carrying costs, which includes utilities.
See, you've thought of everything, Morgan.
We've thought of it all. I mean, we've got here utilities on this house right here. It's calculated on dollars per square foot, but it's calculating $275 a month. And I agree with you. A lot of people would be like, "Man, I just bought this house for $150,000. I'm going to sell it for $240,000. I understand I have to pay utilities, but who cares? Why even write it down? It's a couple of $100 a month." Because the
Right.
answer is, if you have to pay that for 6 months, it's $1,200.
That's right. It makes a big difference if you hold that house for longer than you think.
Right.
For
So,
sure.
and then, this, we're looking at the flip to rent model right now on the Rentalizer flip module, but it's also got, that property management would commence at the month that you lease it out. Your leasing commission, your property maintenance, whether you're spending it or not, you need to be reserving that.
That's right.
So there's a lot of stuff that details that, some people don't even know they exist. So step
Right.
one is let them know they exist. Some people
Right.
know they exist, but they don't even have a clue how to put them into a complete picture.
Right.
So whether you've got your spreadsheet that you've been evolving for the probably entire time that you've been flipping houses, or you just decide to sign up for a software like Rentalizer that'll give it to you from the beginning, I think people need to know they've got to do something if they're going to be out there in this big bad world of flipping houses and wholesaling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
For sure. I think
um,
it's powerful. Congrats on your progress. That's exciting.
thank you. It's just been it's been hard. It's a side job, and it's we don't have like a full-time staff of a developer working on it. I mean, I've got John who works on it as much as he's available, but that doesn't mean that John devotes his life to working on this thing, and
Right.
neither do I.
Right.
So, but I'm excited. We're actually knocking out this bug list. These like some little bugs that are going on. We're making it able to generate PDFs, like a print output, and
Nice.
at the point that we fix the bugs, make it have PDF output, and we have our machine learning, even just the version 1.0 of machine learning. I don't care if it's only 80% accurate. We're going to put it out there, and we're actually going to make this thing usable.
Good. Well, and then it'll get better. You have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So you put it out there. It's not going to be perfect. People
Right.
are going to understand that. And then you'll learn other bugs, other things to fix, other data points to address. And I think that that's going to be even more powerful. So good for you. Get that
Thank
thing
you.
out there. People starting to use it. I think that's going to be awesome.
Thank you. No, we definitely will, and I'll get you back on here to go over this, and I'll show you how you can use it to be a flip extraordinaire.
I like it. I can't wait.
An even better flip extraordinaire. So, well, Elizabeth, thank you for joining me. This is not the most fun time to be doing what we do, but I still hold true. My advice for anybody, my unsolicited advice to you and for my clients that call me is wait. Just don't let your imagination get the best of you. I mean, if you have the opportunity to make a deal with a lender and you have a situation you want to address, I mean, please do that. But April isn't here yet. We don't know how many people are or aren't going to pay, and we're going to address it. But let's gather information right now and figure out how to make the right decision.
For sure. No, I think it's great. And I appreciate your unsolicited advice. It's important to get other people's perspectives and other people that are doing this to make sure that we're all making good decisions and doing the right thing going forward. So I think that's great.
For sure. All right. Well, I'm gonna close us out here, Elizabeth. So really, thank you so much, and have a good one.
You too. Thanks so much, Morgan.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.